Welcome to the Rock Interview Series with host Thomas S. Orwatt Jr.
Welcome to episode number 93 of the Rock Interview Series. I'm your host, Thomas S. Orwatt Jr. It is February 21st, 2024, and for this feature, I have singer, songwriter, guitarist, and co-founder of the British post-punk band Gene Loves Jezebel, Jay Aston, as my guest. During this interview, Jay talks about the band's amazing record, X Love, Death, Sorrow, which was released late last year, their upcoming North American tour with The Alarm, past history of Gene Loves Jezebel, which formed in 1980, his musical influences, and much, much more. So here he is, Jay Aston. Hey everyone, welcome to the Rock Interview Series, and we have a very unique special today. And we have Jay Aston from Gene Loves Jezebel. Jay is keeping it alive, just released a brand new record, and he's going to be playing in the Buffalo, New York area on May 14th, opening for The Alarm, and we're all super excited about that. The new record is called X Love, Death, and Sorrow, and I'll tell you what, this is the first record in history that has not received a negative review. So congratulations, Jay.
Don't curse it. Yeah, it is the first one. We keep it. All the reviews have been fantastic, but there's going to be someone.
I'll tell you what, Jay. I'll be like upfront and honest with you. Okay, I usually interview artists who are a little more like hard rock and classic rock and that, but I absolutely fell in love with this record. So I want to I want to share this with my audience who, may not be that familiar with you. I mean, anybody that was alive in the 1980s, has heard of Gene Loves Jezebel because you guys, were on MTV a lot. When was the last time? It's been a while since you played in the United States, hasn't it?
We played we played last year. We didn't go to Buffalo though. We did some Gene Loves Jezebel gigs. Not the year before last, just over a year ago, I think it was. And that was just gigs with Peter and I, the bass player and I. We did some gigs together. But prior to that, it would have been Coolwood. When was that? Was that 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I can't remember how long ago that was. It might have been 2 years ago. We did some gigs. I'm not 100% sure. But prior to that, we played with The Alarm and Modern English on the tour as well. So
yeah,
I lost. So it was just after. Was it just after COVID or just before? I can't remember. It's all. I can't quite remember. Do so many gigs. But yeah, we have toured in the last 5 years, but we haven't been to Buffalo. We haven't toured everywhere, obviously, but we haven't been to Buffalo for a while.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're really looking forward to the show. The Alarm also is a great band. I mean, this is going to be a hell of a show. You've toured with The Alarm quite a bit.
Yes, we have. We share James Stevenson, our guitar player, plays with The Alarm a lot. So we did an album called Heavenly Bodies, and I just needed a break. We needed a break. And while I was working on songs, he got offered to join, amongst other bands, The Cult. And The Alarm popped up as well, and he's been touring with them ever since, really, amongst other things. He's in demand as a guitar player for sessions, etc. And so we've done a few. I've done some acoustic shows with Mike as well. Mike Peters, the singer, in England, and we've done quite a few things together. And so we stole their drummer Smiley to make the album as well. So he's the drummer on Love, Death, Sorrow, X Love, Death, Sorrow. So yeah, we've done some stuff together.
Yeah. Now this is your 10th record where you've done it by yourself without your brother's involvement.
Yes. Yeah.
I guess for the viewers that are watching this, we should probably go through some past history and
Sure.
just kind of explain, what went on with that. I mean, we'll start off by saying, your band formed in what, like in the early 1980s. You released your first EP in 1982. Okay.
Right. Well, we were twins. We're in Wales. Cut a long story short, we formed a band together, and as the years went by, we did Desire and all those kind of songs, House of Dolls. His involvement became less and less and less and less and less, to the point where he was just miming to my vocals on videos. And so he left. And so we carried on as a four-piece. So originally we were going to change the name of the band, but the record label said, "Why, guys, you've worked so hard to develop a reputation, and it's my vocals on Desire and all those songs anyway. Let's just carry on." And so we did. And then after a few machinations, we got back together. Uh, originally do some acoustic songs sets together. That he did a set and I did a set, but that turned into a Gene Loves Jezebel tour. And we just didn't get along really. It was just chemistry was never there in the first place, really, to be honest with you. And but he took umbrage, started touring the US as Gene Loves Jezebel, even though we've never split up the band and we still exist, obviously. And after much legal proceedings, it turned out the compromise was he used the name Gene Loves Jezebel in the United States, and we used it everywhere else. And so we have to put my name, J. Aston, whenever we do stuff in the US, which is a bit confusing, but ironic because he's actually made me more famous because he's put my name on the front cover of all our records, which is quite bizarre because I'm very much a team player. I believe in the band, we're all equal and we're all part of we're only as good as the sum of the parts. And for me to have my name on the cover is like weird for me because we're a band, I'm just one of the guys in the band. But that's how it turned out. That's how it is.
Yeah, you're right from the beginning. Your style was very unique in that you had the two vocalists in the band.
Right.
What was
Very
that?
theatrical in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, was that the game plan, or did it just kind of work out that way?
I think it was just a natural evolution. It was nice to me. I was quite shy, even though I wrote the vast majority of songs, and lots of the music. I was quite shy, really, and it was nice to have my brother there to cover my butt here and there because while I was playing guitar, someone else to get the attention away from me. But obviously, as I grew more confident, as I grew older, as I got into my mid-20s, I didn't need a crutch, if you like. That's the way I looked at it. He might look at it differently, but that's how it was for the band anyway. So when he left, the band didn't. The record companies, Geffen and Beggars in the UK, they didn't. They just said, "Carry on, sounds great." They knew how we worked anyway. They knew that the band was me, James, Pete, and at the time Chris Bell. Chris Bell still plays with us. He plays drums sometimes, and sometimes he doesn't. He played with us just for Christmas, but he doesn't play so much live these days, Chris Bell. But he's still a great friend. Like everybody's ever been in the band, really. All the people involved with this band, we've all remained friends, So road crews, everybody, I'm in touch with them all, really. Apart from my brother, he's the only one we don't get along with.
Yeah,
So,
when you did come out with that EP in 1982, Shaving My Neck, it was very unique for that time, and that was kind of like post-punk in England and that, and I was just always curious as to who your major influences were.
oh gosh, well, me personally or the band, you could go through the band and we'd all say different bands, really. Even when we were doing cover songs on this album, it was a kind of just pick one. We could have trying to find ones we all agreed on. For me personally, I always looked for bands that had their own thing. As a singer, I was mostly into singers as a kid. People like Terry Reid or Steve Marriott or the Beach Boys, those kind of harmonies. And then the post-punk period, like Joy Division, Wire. There's tons of bands, really. Television. I love that when the punk thing exploded. I mean, the American bands were a little bit older, but they were more sophisticated. So I like Television and Talking Heads, Peeraboo, and all those kind of bands really appealed to me. But in England, Young Marble Giants, Joy Divisions, all those kind of that wave that came after Magazine with John McGeoch. We've done one of their songs on the record.
Yep.
Yeah, the only ones. So punk was exciting and it was a revolution. But it got real musical quickly, I thought. After about 1978, it got pretty musical and inspiring when tons of things started happening at the same time. And anything from the B-52s, those early records, exciting period of music, I think.
What did you think of punk rock?
I find it, I mean, at my age, I was a Led Zeppelin fan. That's why I noticed the Led Zeppelin poster behind you there. I knew I know everything about Led Zeppelin. You could know I was a huge fan. And I saw them at Earls Court 1975. That was the first time I was in my teens, but at least I could go to the show to see them. And Robert Plant had lost his voice by then, and Page was very sloppy, I thought. So the thing about Led Zeppelin is their power. And to me, they didn't have it after 1973. 72 was the last great year. If you listen to How the West Was Won, that's the album. You listen to that, compare that to The Song Remains the Same album. Two different bands. They're so amazing in 1972, but his voice has got damaged, and it's not the same singer. Not to me, anyway. When I hear Dazed and Confused, I wanted to hear Dazed and Confused. And not just looking. I mean, the Pistols and those bands are a few years older than me, but within range. I think people like Dr. Feelgood in the UK, Ian Drury, the Blockheads, those kind of things, and the American bands, Iggy and the Stooges, the MC5, those bands were suddenly more exciting, Not saying I still love those Zeppelin albums, don't worry about that. Music, you have no choice with music, it grabs you, and that's the end of it. There's no point arguing with it. But that was exciting. Suddenly, cut all your hair off, don't wear flares, wear skinny jeans, which you end up having to make yourself half the time. But that's part of the British culture, youth culture, where you make your own clothes anyway. That's why we have so many designers, really. Comes out of poverty, probably, post-war poverty. And so it was exciting, it was fresh, even though I loved Lynyrd Skynyrd as much as I love the Only Ones. I love music, I like songs, and I like people that have their own voice, and I love people who are truthful in music too. So Johnny Mitchell, a huge. Neil Young, I love tons of Americans, lots of Canadians are my favorite artists. There's so many, really. If the critics would have you that there's only 20 albums ever made that are any good. But as we know, there are thousands of records we all love, Sometimes one or two songs, sometimes the whole output, sometimes many albums, but lots of people get lost in the cracks because they're not hip enough, or, they didn't sell enough records. But there's so many great artists out there, so much great music, jazz, classical, all this kinds of music out there. It's amazing. Yeah. Elliott Smith, what a great songwriter he was. It's like there's so much brilliant stuff out there, really. That's what I think.
What about were you influenced at all by like the British new wave of heavy metal at all, like in the 1980s?
I got it, but my head had gone in a different direction. I could have easily joined one of those kind of bands, probably, because I get it, I could have easily gone up and sang one of the songs, and I liked obviously Meatloaf, not Meatloaf, Meatloaf, the album's good actually, but Lemmy, Motorhead, that was the band that crossed both the heavy hard rock with Thin Lizzy to some degree into the punk thing, and the new wave thing, but No, I appreciate it. I appreciate all kinds of music, really. I'm not a fan of, say, Iron Maiden, not my thing, really. I preferred Ronnie James Dio as a singer for that kind of vocal. Out of those bands. But there were bands, Diamond Head, Def Leppard, and those bands. They come from small scenes, and they conquer the planet, really. I met Joe Elliott once, a lovely, lovely guy. What a great guy he is. Really lovely guy. So I don't know. I in the music business, which the record industry doesn't exist anymore, as we both know. If anyone can make it, I say to them, well done. It's so hard to break through all the bullshit, and get to that place. That I say good luck to them. But for me personally, it's my thing was always to find my own voice, so no one sounds like me. Hopefully, and you try and make the band where you put it on. Even that's why it was good to do these covers on this album, because we've never done covers, but to make them our own was my key. I've always said, if you two turn up and plug in, you'll know it's you two. So no matter what you like them or don't like them, you just recognize them straight away. And same they say about David Gilmour. You can plug him in, and people have heard him just at people's weddings. And he just literally plugs into an amplifier with a guitar, and he's David Gilmour. So people chasing all the pedals and all the amps he uses and all the rest of it. I like to think that when we plug in me, James, Pete, that we sound like Gene Loves Jezebel. You know, we start singing Desire or Break the Chain or any of the songs, Emotional Love, any of the songs we're known for. And you know, it's us. And so that to me is the key to any artist, for want of a better word, you know, to describe just where you do your thing and people know it's you. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to be able to go up 10, you know, millions of different octaves and scales as a singer. You could be Lou Reed, you could be Leonard Cohen, you could be Bob Dylan, you could be any of the, just have your own voice, you know, you don't have to be Adele, you know, you don't have to be Joni Mitchell, you know, just have your own voice, and that's the key. Be Elliott Smith, you know, be Neil Young. Neil Young is often slightly out of tune, but that's what makes it's magical, you know. It's just wavering on that. That's rock and roll. It's best when it's just there's imperfection in there, you know. That's what's missing with people making music today. It's all too perfect. Every bar's cut and pasted and copy and pasted into any dodgy sections, and you lose that kind of. I think, you know, that's why Zeppelin were great, because it was a performance. It was literally 1, 2, 3, 4, off we go. And at the end of it, they had a song, and that you know, they'd rehearse it, routine it. But I mean, that song "Rock and Roll," which is the essence of rock and roll, they were just jamming that. You know, it was just John Bonham started drumming, and they all just joined in. "Paranoid" by Black Sabbath, same thing. They needed one more song. Fortunately, you got Geezer Butler, who's such a brilliant lyricist. You wrote all those great lyrics for Black Sabbath. People say to me about Gothic music, I think Bauhaus, etc. The Cure, we covered one of the Cure songs. Of course, they're Gothic bands, Bauhaus, totally. But Black Sabbath are the ultimate Gothic band. Look at the cover of the first album. Look at the name. Listen to the lyrics. Man, that is as Gothic as you're going to get. Play Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath album. That's Gothic. That's my opinion on it, you know. But for me, all music, I like all kinds of music. My first thing I listen for is the singer and what they're saying. And it could be something you could be obviously as profound and as vague as Bob Dylan and just blow you away and take you on a trip, you know, all these characters he creates. Or you can just be saying, I love you. And they're both just as valid, just as long as you have something to say. That's why I also advise new artists. People ask me, you know, how to do this, how to do that. I said, well, the most important thing is to have something to say. And that can be anything. And that's bang. Sting would say, I have a great title. And then you can work, they'll be singing about the same things. And not something obvious like politics or anything, but just an odd theme. And I go, oh, it's so weird. They've all picked something from the air that was hanging.
One of the things that I find very unique about you is your vocal delivery is unlike anybody else. It's very unique. How did you come up with that?
It's all about identity. I've always thought maybe it's because I'm an identical twin, and people try to put you in a box, and I always sort of seeking my own. I think we all look for who we are, and we grow up. In life, we go on a pathway, and we discover who we are, and we probably create who we are as well. You know, a lot of people say that it's a mask, but from a very young age, singing. I can remember at 5 years old, singing and creating melodies and things. So when I heard a voice, I mean, the Beach Boys, as I said earlier, they spoke to me as a kid. You know, just the melody and the purity of the voice, or Ronnie Spector's voice. You know, how did she get the vibrato? And even before all the way until she died, she could always sing like that, so beautifully. Or how did Paul Rodgers sing so beautifully to this day? Still sing so beautifully. You think, how is that possible? But they have their own voice, you know. And all those people, Spector and Paul Rodgers, they are, you know, they've always sung like that. They didn't develop it. And if you listen to my earliest record, I mean, you said Shave My Neck, but if you look on the first things we did are actually on the B-side of Shave My Neck, like It's Glad to Be Alive and Machismo. I sing the same then as I do now. You know, I've always known who I am as a singer. And I just didn't, even though I loved Steve Marriott and all these different singers and all this, I always wanted my own voice. I was aware of how important your own voice was. When I first heard Leonard Cohen, I thought, it's just so unique, you know, the way because I sing, the way he sings and never takes a breath. It's like, I love you in the morning, our kiss is deep and warm. He stays there all the time and never takes a breath. It's quite unique the way he sings, you know. Or used to, obviously not with us anymore, but and then Neil Young, the way his voice just floats. he's got a unique voice, Neil Young. It actually floats through the air. Robert Plant is just power at his best. Was just whoa, pins you to the wall, power. And then Steve Marriott, just unbelievable singer. But so many, Aretha Franklin. I mean, some of those vocals, James Brown. There's so many. And in the end, all music, rock, pop music, unless it's an instrument, even instrumentals, it's mimicking a human voice in the end. That's what those for the Ventures or the Shadows, all those kind of bands, they're mimicking a human voice. But it's all about the voice in the end. It's the theatre. The band creates that whole backdrop for the singer to go power. I mean, I saw. I never bought Ronnie James Dio's records, but I thought he was an amazing singer. And I remember seeing him because one of the first bands I ever saw was Deep Purple, and the opening film was a band called Elf, which is his band. And I thought, my God, what a voice that guy has! No one else seemed to notice because they're all waiting for obviously Deep Purple, and it was just like soaring. And you're thinking, wow, what an amazing from that little person, this huge voice. Steve Marriott, the same little guy, just a massive voice. But Robert Smith of The Cure, I like his voice too, and he's just got his own way of singing. The way you'd be surprised how much energy he's putting that comes across when you try covering one of his songs, which we just did. But so many singers. As long as they have their own voice, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Personally. So that makes me look for my own voice. So I hopefully some people notice what I do isn't like anybody else. Hopefully.
When Gene Loves Jezebel started out, how difficult was it to get attention? Did you guys write up pretty much immediately, get the attention or did you really have to work for it?
Well, for us, it was this the other way around. It came to us too quickly, to be honest with you, because I was hitching around Europe. I'd just been to Morocco, and I was just hitching around, and I was visiting some friends I'd met. I was working in kitchens and doing all that kind of stuff, And then I thought to myself, I need to be in a band. So I think I need to get back to Wales, form a band, go to London, get a gig at a place called the Institute of Contemporary Arts, which always had a thing called Rock Week, which exposed bands from all over the country. Because back in those days, I'm talking about the early 80s, you had to go to London to make it. It wasn't after, say, post-punk or the Pixies, when suddenly A&R men started looking all around America and all around England and Wales and Europe for bands. And then the bands had to go to the mountain, So we went. So I made a plan, go to London. We'll get an agent. I'll get a gig at the ICA Rock Week. That'll get us an agent. We'll get some press and we'll get a record deal. And that's exactly what happened. It was like some sort of creative visualization, they call it, I guess, which I didn't know then. But it's the only time in my life where I've actually thought, oh, this is what I need to happen. And it happened. And that might just be just pure lucky coincidence, but that's exactly what happened. Like, we went to London, did some rehearsing, got a gig. I got a job at the ICA, the Institute of Contemporary Arts, which is still there on the Mall. If you're ever in London bored and want to pop in and see some contemporary art, they've got a nice little restaurant, a cafe there too. It's free entry. Just pop in. It's something to do on a Wednesday wet afternoon in London, amongst many other things, of course. But I used to work there behind the bar, and making cappuccino, all that kind of stuff. Probably looked quite a sight in those days. And we got attention immediately. We got music from Melody Maker wrote a piece on us, and got great reviews. But we weren't ready. That's why there's a gap between Shave My Neck and the first album. There's a year or whatever gap, because we needed to. Luckily, we met John Brand, producer, who kind of knocked us into shape a bit, because we were very loose and very post-punk in the sense that we didn't actually arrange. We'd have song vague. We'd improvise a lot in those days, which was fun, exciting, tons of echo and reverbs and all that kind of stuff, and always a dance rhythm. But he knocked us into shape, which was good.
Yeah. And when did you start getting interest from the United States?
What happened in the United States? Well, there was Ruth Polsky, which is a lady that lived in New York, and she was at the Danceteria. Do you ever hear the Danceteria?
No.
It was a club in New York, which all kinds of people used to go to. She used to book there, and she invited us over to play, and people like New Order, Joy Division, loads of bands, the Smiths, all played there, as well as other rock bands. All kinds of people played there. Because it used to be a mix of all kinds of people. At that period in the early 80s to mid 80s, everybody used to hang out. It wasn't like hard rock guys over there, funk guys over there, art, art nouveau over there, whatever. It was, everybody was in the same kind of place. It was the dance. I mean, Madonna used to work there, so it was that kind of place. Sade played there, every you can think of. Einstein and Newgarden played there. All kinds of bands, we played there. Someone actually filmed it. There's actually a film of us playing there. But she invited us over. So that was our first, and we had to record with John Cale from the Velvet Underground. He wanted to produce us, so we went with the idea of recording a few songs with him. And that's how we first went over there. And that's when MTV was just, MTV was just become huge at that stage. The records on the chart were Jump by Van Halen and Rebel Yell. They were the song when we were in New York. I'd never been to the US before. It was snowing. It was January. It was freezing. We're in Right Track Studios. Met Ornette Coleman there, the great jazz. And there was no way a band like us was ever going to crack America. And most of the people were hanging out with the bands. That was not the Birthday Party and all those kind of bands. We never expected to break America. So it was a trip, and the recording, the gigs were great. The New Music Express was the very important music paper, Melody Maker, to people on the alternative scene, which is the smallest scene then, but very cultish and big in the cities, in New York's, the LA's, Chicago's. There was always a big scene for what they call the underground bands, And so we fitted into that. And so we went there and did some recording, which didn't work out really well because John Cale wasn't really that together at the time. But it was a great experience. And we had a lot of fun. I actually saw someone I met, a friend of mine I still know, 40 years later since we went there, I met, she's in town today, and we had a great look. As soon as I hear her voice, New Yorker, I'm back to hanging out there. So we came back, and that was it. So we thought that was the end of our little American adventure. There was no way we were going to be Van Halen. So we came back here, and things started happening for us in Europe, and we were planning to do a huge. We'd broken the indie charts, and Immigrant came out, our second album, that was doing really well. It's number 2 on the indie charts in the UK. And we just due to do a big Italian tour. And then there was a football stadium disaster between Liverpool and Roma played. I think it was Roma. And some people got killed, it was a huge thing. And British clubs got banned from Europe for a few years because of it. But that was the Heysel Stadium. And because of that, the British consulate suggested that no British bands go over to Italy because the feeling was so bad towards British bands because of the violence of the football supporters. So us and the band called, The Fall, Marky Smith, they were due to come over as well at the same time. We all had to cancel the tours. And so we were sitting there with nothing to do. We'd got an album out. We'd already toured the UK. We'd done France. We'd done gigs in Scandinavia and Holland. And we're sitting there with nothing to do. So my brother just called up Ruth Polsky, and she said, well, there's a new music seminar happening soon, and that's where all the labels will be there, all the agents will be there. Why don't you play a couple of shows and do some meet and greets? And we said, sure. And so as it happened, as soon as we said we'd do that, Relatively Records, that small label, I think they're in Brooklyn, they were based. They had Megadeth, that Megadeth's first album was on it, amongst many others. And they added the Bruises video, which is from the first album, but we didn't have a video for the second album. So they just added that to the second album, Immigrant. And suddenly 2 gigs turned into, 60 odd gigs, many, many gigs. So we're in the US for a very long time. It was an awesome tour, very hard, all of us piled into a van. There was the band was just five of us. We had two road crew and the sound man, who was the Groundhogs drummer. The English band called Groundhogs. He was our drummer, Ken Pesselnick. I'm still friends with Ken, and he's still out there doing Groundhog stuff to this day because they were a huge band in the UK and Europe. And we had a tour manager, and all of us stuck in a van, one of the Ford van, with all our gear, like this, basically. One of us to sleep on the back, and it was quite a tour. But I kept a journal, diaries. I've got records of all these things, these gigs, and that's how we came to America. And then Geffen picked us up.
But was there a
After
bidding
that,
war at
you know.
all? I
And
mean,
yeah, there was a
we,
lot of a lot of labels after us, yeah. But I mean, seriously, in the Banshees were on Geffen, and John Lennon had been on Geffen. You know, that was his last label, so that kind of made me think, well, I'd rather be on John Lennon's label. I think that kind of thinking was there somewhere in the mix. You know,
yeah,
they
yeah.
appealed to us more than the other labels. We could have gone to anyone.
So were you happy the way that Geffen promoted the band?
Let's see if it gives us a second. Are you back?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. So yeah, so John Lennon was there factor.
Yeah, my question was ultimately, were you happy the way Geffen promoted the band?
Geffen, well, Geffen were awesome, really, but the problem with Geffen was they got David Geffen's changed the distribution halfway through, like House of Dolls, our album came out. So we were going through Warner Brothers, which was awesome because they were very together, Warners. So because Geffen's a relatively small label, I know they had a lot of success. Warner's is obviously massive, and so we worked a lot with the Warner's people, which was great out there, yeah, across America in the field. And when Geffen, for his own business reasons, went to another distributor, I can't remember what they were called. We lost a major part of the whole system for us anyway. And so yeah, but that's beyond that's me. Gary Gersh, was great, and they were great, really. You know, the odd things happened. I mean, I didn't like having to work so long with Jimmy Iovine. Like we'd go to a studio and record 4 or 5 songs in a day. You know, in England, we just record them, and then we spent 3 months in the US doing 2 songs. You know, 3 months in a hotel, the Riot House, Hyatt on Sunset. We were there for 3 months, just hanging around, twiddling our toes, doing 2 songs. You know, we're a band that can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and the song is done. So those kind of decisions. And the last straw, really, I suppose, was we did a song called Suspicion, which was a single.
Yep.
And I'm doing all the lead vocals, and I had to I had to let my brother mime my voice, and I had to pretend I was playing guitar, which killed me because I was almost going to leave the band, but he kind of beat me to it. You know, I thought, what am I doing this for? You know, why would you mime to my vocals, and why are they letting this happen? But anyway, that was the downside of it, you know.
You know, that was one of those records that was like what you call a breakout release.
It was, I think, yes, got a lot of good songs on it, House of Dolls. It was a difficult album to make because I wasn't getting on with my brother very well, but I ploughed on with the songs and the band anyway. But there's a lot of good songs on that record. Yeah, 20 Kilohertz, Suspicion, Gorgeous is on there. A song called Treasure, which I think is a gem people haven't even noticed. Every Door, people's always asking. There's a lot of good songs on there, I think. Emotional Love.
And in addition to the great songs, the band's image was just perfect for that time too. I mean, you were a little image-wise, you were a little over the top, but it was like, you were breaking ground, kind of like taking almost like Duran Duran to like the next level as far as image goes.
I think, there's probably some common ground. I think we were both influenced by Japan, the band Japan, to some degree, image-wise. They're the sort of the same age as us, Duran Duran. So we're influenced to some degree, you know. I didn't want to be David Sylvian or Mick Karn, much as I admire them, you know. I was always after my own identity. So I mean, the band's I've always said to people, if you don't like the band's image, blame me, you know. because I was the one that did things to them, wear this, put this on, borrow my clothes. That was my fault, So, but I just wanted it to be colorful. I wanted Gene Loves Jezebel. I invented the name. I wanted it to be all about color and flamboyance and theater, basically, at the time. We were young and pretentious, and I'm just old and pretentious now.
Well, that's what that was what it was like in the 1980s. I mean, look at the glam metal bands too. I mean, they were like taking
Absolutely.
image to the next level as well. And with MTV, you were almost forced to get
Yeah.
noticed some way.
Yeah, it was until I mentioned the Pixies. Until the Pixies came along,
They
you
really
had to
don't
be
have an
good
image.
looking. You had to be good looking, and to be in a band, really, there had to be an image. They broke that down, and as we know, the wave that came after was Soundgarden and those bands, and then suddenly Nirvana popped through.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, even that didn't. I mean, yeah, things were bound to change, but it was a healthy thing. But as you say, but prior to Pixies, all the greats, even if it's Captain Beefheart or Frank Zappa, these people had great images. In music business, generally speaking, image was very important, always has been. But the Pixies came along and changed all that, and I think that's a positive thing. I just think
Yeah,
be yourself. If you just do your own thing, and there's no rules. We're all human beings. We're all doing our best. That's why I look at it. We're all equal, really. It's just music. People get so upset by it and so obsessed by it. And it's just enjoy it.
What was touring like in the United States in '87? What kind of how did you guys tour? I don't recall how if you guys headlined or what you did.
We never opened for anybody. We did. I say that again. We did odd gigs. I could name you the band. We opened for Midnight Hour one night in New York. We just played on our own. We played clubs headlining, then we moved to theaters, then we played bigger places on our own. The first time we shared a bill with someone was with Echo and the Bunnymen and New Order, and that was with Mark Cates. He was our agent, and he was responsible for Lollapalooza, which was basically, we were the three bands that showed America that bands from the alternative scene could play out there in the sheds in bigger venues. So it was. We like to do things on our own. We had some good opening until December. Opened for us, they were awesome. One tour, and we did another tour, Flesh for Lulu. We took them along. We had fun touring. Yeah. We like doing things. It's much better if you just do it on your own terms, really. After that, then what happened after that? We opened for David Bowie in England, a couple of gigs, which was awesome. Right. A festival. We did some gigs with the Ramones, 5 of them in the UK. But generally, we played on our own. Really, that was what we like to do. But these days, I don't mind really. I like this alarm tour. It'd be great because I can get off stage a bit earlier and hang out. And it's good.
Yeah,
I'd get to the next gig if I have to.
As far as this tour that you're going to be going on with the alarm, how much of the new record do you think you'll be performing live?
Well, people have asked me that. It's a funny album. We could do the whole album, because it works.
Right.
We think it's very cohesive as a piece. It really works, the whole thing. So
that's a perfect word for it.
Yeah. Because I hadn't listened to it. We recorded it, and I was like, well, I need to get away from it now because that was hard. It was hard work. We had to do it within limited time. Great studio, but we didn't have the budget to go spend like the 80s, months doing a record. We had to get in there and, okay, I'll do all the vocals. James, you do all the guitars. Pete, you do all the bass. And, that we did it like that. You just do your roles and we're not going to mess around. I'm not going to pick up guitar. You just do it. I'll do all the backing vocals. And so everyone could focus on what we're doing to get the record done. And so when I finished the record, I was like, oh my God, should I have sang that Cure song? They're going to kill me for singing a Cure song. I didn't know. I just didn't know. And I didn't know if we picked the right songs. So literally in a rehearsal studio, I just said, oh, let's do this one, this one, this one. And James suggested that one, and Pete suggested that. But I had the last say because I had to sing them. I said, yeah, okay, let's Pete Rizzo. And so we all decided on the songs, and we picked songs with some of my songs, which they went on the album, 3 or 4 of my own songs, and some songs I'd written with Pete Rizzo. But by the end of it, I was like, oh, I can't listen to any of this now. I was like, give me a few months. So by the time they packaged it and mixed in, then we were doing some gigs in December when the album came out. I had to listen to the album to remember what lyrics I'd sang because some of I'd never performed them live before. We did The Man the Time Forgot. We did the Q song. The songs we did like three of our own songs and the Q song. And they were all awesome to do. But I had to sit down and listen to the album. So I had a hot bath and just lying there and listen to the album. I thought, man, these songs really work together. The album works as an album really well. And then all the reviews come in. They've all been 5-star and highly rated. And I'm thinking, yeah, it's just for some reason it just works as an album. I mean, the last album's got some fantastic songs on there. I mean, Is It Me and How Do You Say Goodbye to Someone You Love? They're strong songs. But this album, for some reason, it all just works really well, which is just a lot of pure luck, a lot of luck, lucky.
Yeah. Like I said before, I always knew of you, and I'm not gonna, say I was your biggest fan, but I came across this record and it just blew me away, and I kept listening to it over and over and over again, and then I went back and
Thank you.
listened to some of your other stuff again, for like the first time in a while. And as a songwriter, I mean, you have really, really grown into like
Thank you. Yeah.
just someone absolutely incredible. Yeah. I think you've taken your songwriting. Yes, you're welcome to like the next level. And I really love
you try to develop, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. But I really like the fact that I mean the cohesiveness, like you said before. I like the fact that you do 5 cover songs, but they fit in so well. I mean, and you change them around a little bit so I mean, unless you knew that they were a cover song, like for instance, I don't know about the magazine. I've never heard the magazine before. I didn't realize that was a cover song until I went back and did some research. But I mean, it fits right in there, and it feels like it could be one of your songs the way you perform it.
Oh, thank you. That's what we're hoping for. I've always believed that any band worth the salt just plugs in, and like U2 can plug in. It's U2. And like any great band, that's and hopefully we plug in, and that's I get Peter Walsh producing because he did House of Dolls and Desire and those songs. You're going to get our sound. Yeah, I mean, as a songwriter, you develop, and those songs we're experienced enough and we're confident enough to. I'm in the studio and we're going to do Boys Don't Cry. That's Cure's song. But as we're doing it, we thought it sounds very similar to the Only One song. Actually, play them together. Could be the same song, the same band, same sort of chords and things. At least to us, it sounded like. And so I said, "Oh, let's do another Cure song." And that's what I thought, In Between Days. And I just had my acoustic there, and I thought, let's try and. We sound like a cover band. Let's try and do it differently, So that's why I changed it. I just strummed the chords and sang it the way I sang it, and it almost becomes one of our songs. And I've got some nephews and friends who are huge Cure fans, and they've all reached out to me and they think it's wonderful. And I was like, that's the one I was sweating about, especially. I thought, oh my God, magazine people don't know so well. Marian Faithful, they're not going to worry too much about our performance there. But the Cure are almost like, don't touch them kind of thing. They're kind of like Led Zeppelin or something, don't touch them. Yeah. So that was satisfying. I know some massive Cure fans. And I thought they might go, what are you doing? But
you did well. You did well.
It worked. It worked. I think we made it our own, and we did it live and it was fantastic. People, the audience loved it. So it was great. Yeah. They knew the words better than I did, put it that way.
Yeah, when you write for a record like this, do you usually have like a lot of songs you write, or do you just write just knowing that you need a certain amount of songs, so you just write that amount?
I write songs all the time. I got tons of songs. I mean, the last album, same as when I did a solo record, I trust James Stevenson. He's got a very good ear, I always say, for the right songs to do, And the last, this album as well, I just sit down and play Peter Walsh, the producer, and the band, my songs. And Breathe Easy is one of that song. And they said, oh, we got to do that song, which I would never have spotted a song they'd like,
Yeah.
And, so it's, I don't know, really, I said a lot of luck was involved, just a lot of chance. There was some covers we're going to do, we just decided not to do. And I said, let's do, James said, oh, why don't you do that song, Young Girl, you wrote? So we put that in there instead. And I think we just got lucky, really. We're in the right place as a band, as people. We've been together a long time. We trust each other. We've got a great producer, Peter Walsh is a phenomenal engineer and a great producer. He's married to a beautiful lady called Kate Walsh, and she's a wonderful cellist. So we had all that classical stuff we could add to songs like the Cure song, for instance, and Breathe Easy, that song, the strings on that. And we're in Wales, this is where I'm from. It's nice to be back. I haven't been back to Wales for such a long time. It was so nice to be, just walk into a shop or a store, as you Americans say, and immediately be on the same level, get the humor. I know all the subtle language things, of the region, because I'm from there. And it just felt the right place to be, even though it was the depths of winter and bleak and barren, still so beautiful. I just loved being there. So I just think we're lucky having just fit into place, just meant to be, I guess you could say. You could be quite fatalistic about it.
So what's going to be next for you? I mean, it's been 7 years since the last record, Dance Underwater. I'm assuming you're not going to wait that long, are you?
Yeah, I think we're thinking about doing an acoustic record, because we did an acoustic show in Bath as a warm up as a special little. Actually, it was an old friend in Bath who's got a venue there. He asked us to do an acoustic set, and as we did it, we thought, oh my god, we should do an acoustic album, because I got everyone singing, and you can just pull all these songs from all over the place, and they work so well acoustically. Some of them have just worked really well acoustically. So that's very plausible to do this year. In the next couple of months, that's definitely plausible. So, albums, I write songs all the time. So I got tons of them, stacks of them. So I have to just finish some of them off. There's 2 or 3 I need to finish off. And I'm just picking the right ones that sound right for Gene Loves Jezebel, or in the US, Jay Aston's Gene Loves Jezebel, or whatever we call it. But because some songs fit better for me, for solo stuff for me, but there's other ones that work fantastic for the band, really.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jay, I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to see you on May 14th. It's going to be a great show.
It will be, Thomas. Yeah.
It's going to be absolutely incredible. I'm going to make sure that I try to meet you there and say hi.
Oh, you will. We'll be hanging out. Everyone has to hang out these days. It's just much more fun. Anyway,
it is like back in the 80s, the bands didn't hang out.
Yeah, no, they didn't. They wouldn't let you back then. They keep you, locked up backstage. I used to say to promoters, "No, we want to hang out," but they'd keep you all security and all the rest of it. Yeah. I much prefer, especially as we're all a little bit older. It's more fun, you can just chat a lot of fans from back in the 80s are friends of mine now. You know what I mean? I'm sure this, to some degree, is still a fan, but we just become friends. You just get to know each other. And it's wonderful on that level. And generally speaking, 99.9% of the time, when you go out to meet people, it's fantastic. It's not very often you meet someone who's obnoxious. I don't think I ever have. I met some people politically will say weird things, but they love the music. That's what counts. Keep away from the politics, I guess.
Yeah, that politics are really like make enemies real quick, right? All right. Well, I'll let you go. Great interview, and like I said, I'm a big fan of your record, and like I said, I've been spending a lot of time going back and listening to your prior work again. Like the first time, some of that stuff, first time hearing it in like 30 years, and it's amazing. And cannot wait to see you live. And again, take it easy, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, it'd be great. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks for your energy and time, man. We will definitely. You know where I am. Thank you, my friend. Take care. Okay. Have a great day. It's night time for me.
Yep. Okay. Have a nice night.
As they say in Wales, good night, no star.